So today we will be talking about if the Indianapolis Colts should move up in the 2023 NFL Draft for a quarterback. So we all know the same old crap, the same old story. I'm not going to go over it because you probably heard it a million times. But the Colts need to move up. They need to go and get the guy. They're tired of this carousel, as I'm explaining it anyways. They're tired of the carousel, and they need a young guy that's going to be in the building for at least 10 to 15 years. You need some stability at the quarterback position. It affects a lot when you have a new quarterback every year. It makes coaching that much more difficult. It makes it difficult for a team to believe in what you're doing and have a team really commit to a winning culture when you have a new guy every year, and every year you have these high expectations, yet you come short every year. So it takes a toll on a team's character, the mental ability. And that's important about the way Chris Ballard built this team, but he has been too conservative. And, that's probably going to change. He's under pressure. So will he be too aggressive? It's very hard to find that median. There's a fine line between both. It's very difficult to find the sweet spot. So if you enjoy Colts content, NFL content, all that stuff, make sure you like, subscribe, put that post notification bell on, because this is a place for you, man. You don't want to miss out. Give me a shot. You'll never look back. You'll never regret it. This will be your favorite place to watch to get all your football content, especially the Colts. We're branching out to the entire NFL slowly, but don't miss out. This is a place for you. So, will Chris Ballard force it? That's the first thing here. We know that there's going to be competition for that number one. Is it really a bidding war between the Texans and the Colts? Maybe there's a wild card team in there that could throw us for a spin. That could throw us for a loop. Maybe there is. Maybe there's not. But the thing is with the Texans is they're not going to want to be giving up a ton. They're already at number 2. And, with the Colts being further down, they're going to have to naturally give more compensation for the number 1 overall pick because they're further back. So the Texans would have to overvalue the number 1 pick to do that. Because the Colts are probably going to have to, they're going to have to get rid of this first. They're probably going to swap. Then they're 1,200 points in the hole. If you look at the Jimmy Johnson trade chart, number 1 overall pick is 3,000 points. Number 4 overall pick is about 1,800. You take the difference of that, it's 1,200. So maybe you give them an early second. Maybe you give them a superstar player. Maybe not. You probably have to give them an early second this year, and then maybe a second next year. It's just how it goes. And it may seem like a lot, but also you also have to look at the picks for next year. The value is really like cut in half. So will Chris Ballard force it? I don't think it's necessarily going to be forced if it happens, because as I said, the Texans aren't going to want to overcompensate. That's ridiculous. You just don't do that. When you're competing for the number 1 pick, maybe the maximum value isn't going to be there at 3,000 points. Maybe it'll be a little less. Maybe it'll be like 2,800. Maybe the Colts will only have to give up. Maybe they'll be in the hole about 1,000 points. You don't know that. You never know who's in the market, who's competing for that number 1 overall pick. But most likely it's the Texans and the Colts. So if the Colts do decide to trade up, maybe it's the Panthers. Maybe it's... You never know. But I hope Chris Ballard doesn't force it. Like, if they're really asking for more first-round picks, you might have to give up a first next year because it's cut in half. Remember that. You may just have to give up a first next year, which sucks. And that's why I don't think the Colts should do it. As we talked about, that's how much it would, take to move up. Should the Colts include any players? So, there's a few players that have been going around that the Colts maybe should be shopping. Maybe especially for the number 1 overall pick. Buckner was thrown out there a little bit. I kind of started that a little bit. But if you think about it, a superstar quarterback has a better chance of winning you a championship than a superstar defensive tackle. It's just the way the NFL works. Whether you like it or not, you need a superstar QB. That's going to give you a better chance to win a ring, not a defensive tackle. Now, Buckner is amazing and he's great. But is he going to win you a championship? No, he's not. Definitely could help. Won't help as much as a franchise guy, as a superstar quarterback. Michael Pittman, another one that was thrown out there. Didn't have a good year last year. He had decent production. Didn't reach 1,000 yards. I think he had like 99 catches though. So he definitely had a few drops in there. He had some fumbles. He had some critical mistakes. And I don't say we trade him. I don't think that's a good idea. I think you give him another. At first I was mad at him, and I still am. But sometimes you gotta step back and you gotta analyze the emotions. You gotta recognize your emotions and be like, you know, how bad was the passing game? Yeah, it was pretty damn bad. Guys like Alec Pierce, he stepped up. Jelani Woods stepped up. When Jelani Woods had a chance, he looked pretty good. That's besides the point. So Michael Pittman, should they trade him? No. Give him another year. He's gonna want an extension soon, but give him another year before you give him that extension, because he did not play good last year. You can't give a player a fantastic contract off of a bad year. It just doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. So I say give Pittman another year here. Doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You don't trade him away. Kenny Moore is another one. Kenny Moore has been wanting more money. He's been wanting top dollar. Honestly, man, he's a phenomenal slot corner, but he is inconsistent at times. Does get beat sometimes, but sometimes it's due to how bad the pressure is. At the end of the day, you still got to do your job, and you're responsible for the guy that gets open on your end. Kenny Moore, he's a smart player, fun player. He's great for the locker room, but is he a place that's is he a spot that's replaceable? Yeah, but slot corner is really important nowadays. It's really important. So I wouldn't trade Kenny unless he really wants top dollar, and the Colts aren't going to pay it. Which that's the only reason I'd be willing to not resign Kenny and trade him. So we talked about trade value. What the Colts would probably have to trade to get up there. Quentin Nelson was thrown there too, but that's ridiculous. Are any of these quarterbacks worth trading up for? So this is when we talk about the quarterbacks a little bit. You look at Bryce Young. He is a phenomenal football player. I am not questioning. Every one of these quarterbacks have drawbacks. They have things that can cause for concern. They all have great traits. They all have some cons, some drawbacks. That's normal, but some of them are serious. You look at Bryce Young as the first one. He's listed at 5'9", 5'10". Most of the places you look. Is he even 5'9", 5'10"? You look at a picture of Nick Saban and Bryce Young. On Google, Nick Saban is listed as 5'6". I don't think that's right. He's probably like 5'7", 5'8". I think he's 5'7", 5'9", probably. I really don't know, honestly. Google's probably wrong because Google has Bryce Young listed at 6 foot. Yeah, wow. And then you go and look at a picture of Nick Saban and Bryce Young standing next to each other. Bryce Young is just a little taller than him. He's not that tall. He's not that much taller than Nick Saban. That's another thing that you need to realize. He's small. He's barely taller than Kyler Murray. He weighs less than Kyler Murray. He is phenomenal in the pocket. He can create, he can scale the pocket, and he's not a run-first guy. So that's what the difference is between him and Murray. Not a run-first guy. Could scale the pocket. Good accuracy. He just has great physical traits all around. Not an elite arm by any means, but he has accuracy. It's an arm power. He has accuracy, anticipation, and with an Alabama team that isn't as nearly as good as when Mac Jones was there, Tua just not as nearly as good. So that's another sign that Bryce Young could be the best quarterback coming out of Alabama out of those three. Now Tua's been good, but that's another video for another day. The size scares you. That's my main point here. The size really scares you. I'm one of those people, if you're going to be that small, I'm okay with maybe a 5'11", 6 foot quarterback. Once you start getting below that, even 5'11" is cutting it close for me, man. I'm one of those people, I want a tall quarterback. I want a big quarterback. I don't want a small quarterback. It's hard for him to see over a line. You gotta, sometimes you gotta scramble out. And that usually shortens the shelf life. They usually shortens the career for the quarterback as well. You look at Russ. You look at the quarterbacks that run. They just, their careers just don't last as long. You look at the guys that stay in the pocket, that are pocket passers their entire career. Yeah, they have just enough mobility to get out of the pocket, or they're just that great at scaling the pocket. They have good offensive lines, but they don't take the big hits. They don't take any unnecessary crap. And they're also bigger, like your Aaron Rodgers, your Tom Brady, your Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson. He's had injury problems. Kyler Murray has had injury problems. The smaller quarterbacks tend to have injury issues. And, how is Bryce Young's body going to hold up in the NFL? That's a serious question. That's an honest question that you need to ask yourself when you're looking for a franchise guy. In my opinion, I wouldn't trade up for any of these guys at all. Any of them. I'd stay put. If anything, if this Colts staff wasn't under tremendous pressure, Chris Ballard, to pick a quarterback now, I'd say take Will Anderson and Jalen Carter, because I'm not high on any of these guys. Maybe draft a guy like Hendon Hooker or Tanner McKee, in the second round. See what they got. And then, if you have to go back and draft a quarterback early next year, the Colts aren't going to be good next year. Face it now. Don't get your hopes up for next year. They're not going to be good. They're not. They're not going to be 500. They're not. The Jaguars are probably going to win the division. Houston's probably going to be crappy like they are every year. Titans, they're on a down slope. It's just the Colts are going to be in that bottom tier again. And you have to accept that. Yeah, the defense is very good. You have some weapons. You have too many problems with the offensive line. Corners getting older. You do have Isaiah Rodgers. You have a lot of young guys in that corner room. Safety's looking nice. Linebackers looking good. Defense, no question about. Tight end, someone needs to prove themselves. I think Jelani Woods could. The wide receivers, someone could prove themselves there. Can Jonathan Taylor stay healthy? There's just a lot of what ifs. A lot of if this, if that, then they would be good. It's if Bernard Raymond will develop. Who's going to be the right guard? Is Braden Smith going to stay consistent? Who's going to be the center? There are too many questions, too many what ifs to deem the Colts as at least a mid-tier team next year. As we saw this year, you don't have an offense, you're going nowhere. There's too many questions on the offense. So realize you're not going to be good this year. Draft your quarterback next year. Much better prospects next year, in my opinion. Much better. You have Drake May. You have Caleb Williams. There are so many better prospects next year, it's not even funny. Not high on any of these guys. I'd rather take a Hendon Hooker or Tanner McKee in the second round. That's my thoughts. But then we talk about Stroud. He has almost everything you love, but he can't create, and he's horrible under pressure. You don't want a quarterback, that kind of quarterback just holds you back. He could be like Kirk Cousins. I could see Stroud being like Kirk Cousins. He's decent. He has very good arm strength, very good accuracy. He can't really, he's not a crazy mover. He can scale, he can scale the pocket. He has good mechanics, but it's just when you can't create, when you can't step up or make something out of nothing, you can't change the play. You can't call an audible effectively, into the best possible audible or put yourself in the best situation to succeed. Ultimately, those quarterbacks never get you far in the playoffs. Look at Kirk Cousins. Look at Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott's a little weird. He's very aggressive. He's got good arm strength. And he could create, but sometimes he creates more bad situations than good. Dak Prescott's a weird one. Derek Carr. Granted, Derek Carr has had a crappy team his entire career. Never had a defense. Never had the same coach for more than 2 years. So, I just don't think C.J. Stroud is a long-term answer. I don't think C.J. Stroud is going to be that guy. I don't see it whatsoever. Daniel Jones. I think Daniel Jones is going to be like that. I think Daniel Jones could create a little more. I think Daniel Jones might be worthy of talking about putting up higher if he could get some production. All right, I'm getting off topic here, but I'm just ranting. And, this is what comes with the videos. This is why you need to stay tuned. This is why you need to stay around. Great videos, man. I'm telling you, you won't regret it. So then you look at Will Levis, another quarterback that has phenomenal physical tools. His mechanics could be iffy sometimes. He's run a pro offense for the last few years. Issue is his decision making. what goes on between the ears. It just isn't there for me. Isn't consistent. As we've seen, Kentucky Kentucky is one of the most inconsistent, weird teams. They beat teams they shouldn't. They lose to teams they shouldn't. They could beat anyone. They could lose anyone. Do you really want a quarterback like that? No. That's how the Colts have been for the past 4 years with new quarterbacks. You could beat anyone, but you could lose anyone. Do you really want to continue that? CJ Stroud will probably provide that too. Much better between the ears, CJ Stroud, though. Will Levis isn't it? Great, phenomenal arm strength. Can run a little bit. His running ability is a little underrated. Accuracy is inconsistent. It's just between the ears, man. It's just between the ears. So I don't think any of these quarterbacks really worked it. But if you do, say they do trade up, Bryce Young. That's it. No one else. You don't trade up to draft CJ Stroud. You don't trade up to draft Will Levis. Will Levis is probably going to be there. At the end of the day, if the Texans draft Stroud or Young and the Colts don't move up, the Colts are going to draft 1 and 2. And you know what? If they don't move up, there's going to be even more competition for 3, and the Colts are going to be the Colts are going to be the spot before the Cardinals. There's going to be other teams like, Carolina may move up for Will Levis. I could see Frank Reich being a big Will Levis guy. I could see it. I see it now. You have Atlanta. You have the Raiders. You have the Bucks are far down. There are a lot of different teams that could trade up and look for a quarterback here. There's a lot of competition that for the Cardinals as well, especially if the Colts don't move up. It's just the same situation that I talked about earlier with the Texans being at 2 and them having to give up less compensation for 1. That's kind of what the Colts would be at trying to go from 4 to 3. You're going to overcompensate because other teams are competing. Other teams generally have to give more anyways. So it just doesn't work out. Unless you trade up to 1, which I don't think is a good idea. They're probably going to. I can actually see Chris Ballard staying here. And you know what? Chris Ballard is going to improve a lot to me this year. I know I've crapped on him a lot. Have not been happy with him. No one has. But this is the draft that's going to make or break it for me with Ballard. He has had a lot of averages draft. He's had one insane draft. Every other one, average. No, Taylor Pittman, that was a good one. He had some very good ones in there. But he also had some very average and a very bad one in there. It's going to happen. You're going to make mistakes. You're not going to have good drafts. It's going to happen. But, it kind of sucks because I have a feeling Chris Ballard has to be aggressive if he doesn't want to lose his job. So I appreciate Ballard more and more sometimes. But now he's under pressure, and Jim Irsay is basically sailing the ship. What does Chris Ballard have in power-wise? So, you guys let me know what you think. Should the Colts trade up? I think that's really it today. How does competing with other teams impact the value of number 1? I talked about that. Should the Colts swap the Cardinals at 3? I talked about that. Should the Colts even draft the QB? I talked about that. We went over everything I really wanted to talk about in this video. If you guys have anything that you disagree with or agree with, you think the Colts should trade up, should trade back, should stay put, if there's a quarterback that you guys think the Colts should go after, you guys let me know. There's a lot of fun prospects in this draft. There's a lot of, iffy, fun. I don't know why I said fun. They're fun prospects. But are they guys you want to move up for? No, absolutely not. Not in my opinion, but when you're desperate, things change. You tend to overpay, make mistakes, overcompensate. And I'm hoping Ballard just doesn't do that. I hope he sticks to his philosophy somewhat. Because could you imagine Jalen Carter, Will Anderson, one of those two, in that line with Buckner, Stewart, and Pay? How does that sound? And you know what they say? You win football, you win championships by attacking their quarterback and protecting your own. Pass rush ultimately helps to seal games. So that would help a young quarterback that maybe you draft next year. Maybe you draft an offensive lineman too. Maybe draft an offensive lineman in the second, a guard, maybe a center. You guys let me know what you think. I appreciate you guys watching this entire video. If you guys really made it to the end, comment trade up. Trade up, trade up, trade up. That's how I know you made it to the end. But I appreciate you all making it to the end here. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, put that post notification bell on. Do not miss any future videos. I promise you, this is a place for the best Colts and NFL content. We are getting there, man. You will not regret it. So, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for tuning in to the JDW Sports Talk Show. I will catch you guys later.